Hey guys, Mr. Ridgway here. Today we are going to be doing the second half of our World War II lesson. And like this GIF would suggest here, it's going to be a disaster, at least for World War I. Now, a couple of things here. Number one, make sure you do the warm-up that is down here at the bottom in the very start of the mini lesson. And then second, as we're going here, you're going to see that there is a virtual museum that we are starting off with. Today, the big thing that we're doing initially is tracing the broad happenings and kind of flow of the war. You need to make sure you do that before you watch this video. In the virtual museum, it starts off here. There's a worksheet that you'll need. And then once you do it, and you'll turn that into today's Canvas lesson, you will then do this virtual World War I museum. For now, I'm going to assume that you've done that, and I'm going to go on and do the mini lesson. So as soon as you're ready, pause the video. You can do the virtual World War I museum, then go on with me. So we are going to be looking at the broad developments and kind of legacy of the war here. This is not going to be a super long mini lesson, but it is really, really important. So what are the legacies of wars, especially World War I, which for most people isn't as glamorous as World War II? Let's talk about kind of the ebb and flow of the war. So the thing about World War I that really defines it is that there are so many just like very, very iconic images of how the war goes. And the number one thing is probably trench warfare. But really the problem with World War I is that the military tactics that exist before the war, which is it's a very gentlemanly affair, lining up in straight lines, charging, always, attack in numbers. That doesn't really match up with the new technology that exists, and specifically it's machine guns, but as well things like mortars, poison gas, all these things that can kill hundreds of people a minute. So really the problem of World War I is new technology with old mentalities, because then when the war really gets going, you can't have organized gentlemanly warfare where you all stand in front of each other like had existed before. So what do? Well, they do the next logical thing, build trenches. And of course, they're going to try to come up with all sorts of solutions for this. They're going to try tanks, which were actually invented for people to stand behind while they drove forward through barbed wire. But even then, along with technology, they're still going to try these mass charges after days and days and days of bombarding enemy trenches. And it's just going to result in devastating casualties. World War I is pretty terrible. One other thing that we need to talk about just with kind of the legacies and flow of the war is that it's also not just Europe. It truly is like a large world war. It happens in Africa. It happens in the Middle East. It happens in Japan, China, and other colonies. And also it's not just those locations. Even sometimes I have this example down here is that the British bring Indian soldiers from their colony in India, send them to France to go and kill Germans. It's a very interconnected conflict. But anyways, let's kind of finish off with our lesson here. So the end of the war. Okay, Russia drops out in 1917, and you should have seen that if you did that part of the museum. Because that is a very, very significant event. Okay, that is the start of the Bolshevik revolutions. There's two of them, the February and the October one, which we'll talk more about later. But even though Russia drops out, what Germany does is they take all of their troops from the Eastern Front over here and send them to the Western Front. And even though that happened, Germany basically still can't keep pace. By this time, the United States has joined the war. France and Britain are starting to more or less stabilize. And so Germany signs an armistice. Now, to specify, all that an armistice is an end to the war. It's not a surrender document. It's more like a ceasefire, if anything. But what comes out of this is that basically the Triple Entente, which is Britain, United States, France, those three specifically, they basically look at that as a surrender document, and they force Germany to sign what is going to be called the Treaty of Versailles. Now, I know it looks like Versailles, okay, right there. There we go. Versailles. No, it's Versailles. But and we could talk lots about what's in the treaty. You just need to really know the big theme of it, and that is it blames Germany for the war. Now, take a moment here, kind of remind ourselves, did Germany like do the first shot of World War One? And if you go like all the way back to like Franz Ferdinand being assassinated, not so much. But maybe they were to blame because of the whole Austria-Hungary thing and give them the blank check. I don't know. But out of it, they are blamed for the war. And what Germany has to pay is something called war reparations, which is basically just money for causing the war and all the damage. I cannot underscore to you the amount of resentment that this is going to cause in Germany. And it's going to contribute, especially to here in about 20 or so years after the end of World War I, the rise of a certain Adolf Hitler. Okay. The other big legacy coming out of World War I is that it's going to prove that Europeans are not somehow superior to the rest of the world. And a lot of the colonies that were owned by Europeans, especially starting here, but definitely by World War II, are looking at Europeans and like, you guys kill each other all the time. You're no better than we are. Like, what's up? And so this is going to eventually help something called independence movements, which will go on. And you might have, I think we did do a brief mini lesson on Gandhi a few lessons ago. It's going to help out with stuff like that. To end the lesson, I just want you to tell me, write a summary at the end of your notes. Who won World War I? So write a summary of the end of the war in exactly 6 words. So you could either write it about who won World War I or how the war kind of wraps up. So hope this helps, and I'll see you in our next lesson. Bye-bye.